The global COVID-19 pandemic shows no signs of slowing down. We are still deep in the middle of this crisis. New infections are rising once again exponentially. Hospitalizations are increasing. And unfortunately, deaths are also increasing. So we are still having to deal with this problem. We continue to need more testing. Testing which is accurate, reliable, and rapidly available at point of use. Hello everyone, I'm Naveen Agarwal and welcome to my weekly video update. In this video, I will talk about a brand new test that just received emergency use authorization from the FDA. And the good news about this test is that it can be done at home. Very easy to do, and the results are available at home. And that's a big difference because up until now, many different testing options were available. Some of them were for at-home collection, but you still had to send the sample out, and it took a while before the results became available. We had rapid antigen tests available, but they have been plagued with problems of false positive results. I've talked about those problems in some of my previous videos. So this test is good news because it can be done at home and the results are available at home. So I want to look into the details of this test, maybe give you some features of this test, some results, and share with you some of my thoughts about how you could understand the results of this test or any other test. So let's take a look into this. So far, 289 tests have been authorized by the FDA. 224 are RT-PCR tests, and 30 of them are indicated for at-home collection, but the testing is done somewhere else. Antibody tests, 58 of them, and 7 antigen tests have also been authorized. So we have a number of testing options available, but this is the only one of its kind that is available for testing at home. This is called the Lucira COVID-19 All-in-One Test Kit. EUA was granted just last week. The technique is RT-LAMP, and don't get confused by the acronym LAMP. There is no lamp shining on the sample or on the reader or anything like that. It stands for Loop-Mediated Isothermal Amplification Chemistry. And what it does is basically amplifies the DNA, which is derived from the viral RNA. So unlike the antigen test, it is actually going to detect the viral RNA, and it works really well. Samples are self-collected nasal swabs. Targets are the viral RNA and gene portion, specifically 2 different locations in the N gene. Instrument is a single-use self-contained test unit, and it is shown on this picture here. And there's a simple LED indication for color change. The chemistry causes the pH of the mixture to change, and because of that, there's a color change, and then the LED indicates the color change. If there is no color change, then the test is negative. Time to result is only 30 minutes, but it could show a positive as short as 11 minutes. And it depends upon the viral RNA concentration, of course. It's a simple 4-step process. First, you set up the test. You collect the samples by rotating the swab inside your nostrils, both nostrils. You run the test. You mix the swab with the reagent test tube, put the test tube into the reader, and within 30 minutes, you have the answer. The light will show you if it is positive or negative, and if both LED indicators are on, it's an invalid result. LOD is claimed to be around 900 copies per mil, so it is not great. It is kind of middle of the road, but it'll probably a good compromise for at-home testing, and it'll give you a fair amount of accuracy. The cost is only $50 per test, so it's fairly affordable. They did a usability study which was critical to getting this emergency use authorization, so I want to talk about that. 398 healthy non-symptomatic users, 2 locations, and they were of various ages, ethnicities, and education levels. Study was set up in a research facility, and all these people were given were a quick reference instruction in the kit, and they were observed in action. No other instructions was given. So the results were good. 96% of the users were able to start the test successfully, 97% rated easier or about what they expected, 59% rated easier than expected, and everybody was confident that they could run the test independently. 99% of adults and 95% of teens were able to collect the samples successfully. 92% of adults had a median swab time of just 18 seconds and teens about 17 seconds. So this can be done very quickly, easy to do, everybody is very confident that they can do the test. So this was good result from the usability study. Okay, here's the clinical evaluation data. 3 out of the 51 positive samples were false negatives. Now, the point to note here is that these 3 basically contained very low amount of viral RNA. So they were on the low end, and that's why they were false negatives. 1 out of 50 was a false positive. So as a result, positive percent agreement is 94, negative percent agreement is 98. It is not bad. It is actually very good, but it is also not top of the line. So there's a little bit of a trade-off here. I did some calculations on the positive predictive value at 5% disease prevalence. It's about 71%. And what it tells us is the level of confidence we can have when a person who tests positive will actually be positive. So that's what this calculation tells us. The confidence interval range is pretty broad, but that's because of the positive percent agreement and negative percent agreement values and their confidence interval. So it's not necessarily bad. Negative predictive value is very good, 99.7%. So what does this all mean? Here's a very simple schematic for you to understand. Now, there are 2 scenarios. Either you have symptoms or you do not have symptoms. And then there are 2 scenarios for the outcome. It's a negative result or a positive result. So let's say you have symptoms and you get a positive result. It's a very high chance that it's a true positive. Now let's say you do not have symptoms and you get a negative result, very high chance of true negative. Now it's not 100%, but it's a very high chance. You can be fairly confident. What happens if you have symptoms and you get a negative result? It could be flu. This test does not detect flu. It differentiates flu from SARS-CoV-2. So only for SARS-CoV-2. So you might want to get a second test. If you do not have symptoms and the test is positive, you may still be positive, but you may be asymptomatic. So you may want to continue to isolate yourself, watch for symptoms when they appear, and then redo this test. That could be one way of moving forward. But whatever you do, you need to talk to your doctor appropriately for the future course of action. I think this schematic will give you a very high level understanding of what the result might mean given your symptoms or lack of symptoms. So I hope this is useful. We went through a lot. This is a good option, affordable cost, reasonable LOD, fairly good clinical evaluation performance. Now, it is still available only through prescription, and in the near term, availability might be limited because of demand. So it's a good option, and over time, hopefully it'll scale and you will be able to use it at home in the unfortunate scenario that you suspect that you or your family member might have COVID-19. Talk to your doctor. I hope the way I described how to interpret results will make sense to you. But at the end of the day, you have to take as many precautions as you can and follow the advice of your doctor. Please let me know if you have any questions or comments, or if you would like to know more about this topic or any other topic. Write to me, follow me on LinkedIn, and drop me a comment. I want to thank you again for your interest and engagement, and I hope all of you are continuing to stay safe in these very difficult circumstances.